what I think everybody wants to know how to do, right? Everybody wants to make their first million, and you know, it's not as hard as you think. It's actually, but what people have to understand is what the job they have is, and that'll make it a lot quicker and easier to understand how it's easier to make, and it's not necessarily about money. A lot of it has to do with flexibility, but it also depends on the kind of assets that you buy. So look, I've been buying property since 19, and I bought everything you drive by, right? This is what I'm known for. Buying property that everybody drives by every day, you know, the kinds of properties, industrial, commercial, offices. A lot of people, you know, get caught up in these different ideas that, I'm going to get into multifamily. Listen, you wouldn't be, if you've never done multifamily, or if you're not a multimillionaire already, you're going to get laughed out of that room, okay? Because it's going to be obvious. It's for a sophisticated buyer. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you want to make your first million in real estate, you need to stay where the highest probabilities are, right? It just makes sense. You stay with the stuff that there's the most of, the most likely you can make money on, the stuff that's not too sophisticated, which is good for you because most of the great deals out there are not that difficult and are not that sophisticated. So let's start with the whiteboard. If you just got here, please hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel. And I'm going to head over here to the whiteboard, and let me see if I can make that bigger. I think you guys can see it well enough. Let me know, you guys can see that whiteboard well enough or not? What do you think? Let me go to full cam. Go to full cam, and we'll go to whiteboard on this one. There we go. All right, I'm gonna start here. I think this will make it easier. All right, so look, I started at 19, and I had a little bit of an unconventional start in as much as I started with a warehouse, right? I got a retail warehouse. I was 19. Now, owner financing, that was the key to that. But I could sell that as like a viable way, and you have high probabilities, but I'd be lying to you. I know that I was fortunate to run into the situation that I've had, and believe me, I've owner finance properties on both ways. I've financed for people I've sold to, but also the first deal I ever had was afforded to me with owner financing. I couldn't have done it any other way. So, but let's talk about this. First of all, the easy way. I'm going to just talk about the easy way to make your first million. And I don't care if you have a good paying job or a low paying job. It really doesn't matter. You can still, it's still easy, right? It's compared to working a lifetime for somebody else, it's still easy. So first off, very easy. I categorize these three. Good paying job, okay, that's great, right? But I got an asterisk by that because if there's no flexibility, that hurts, right? Because if there's no flexibility in your job, like if you're a doctor and you're stuck in your emergency room, you can't leave, you can't jump out and look at a deal, that sort of thing. That's a big limiter, right? That's a big limiter. Believe me, a lot of the deals I make are during the day when most people are stuck at work. I'm taking houses and land, particularly houses. I get a lot of stuff on market, and the reason I take it away is because somebody else is tied up. They can't, you know what I mean? They can't move fast, and this has been my whole life since the 80s on this. So, but I want you to understand so you can identify kind of where you're at, in the food chain as far as, what your options are with what you got, as a profession, how you make money. It's like, the contractors, I was a contractor, you guys got it made. You got flexibility, assuming you work, in town. I believe in buying all properties in town. That's probably one of the best places because everything's nearby. I demonstrated that over and over again. So let's talk about it. Good paying job, no flex. That's not quite as easy. I put very easy because it's always good to have good money. Number two, good paying job with flexibility. That's probably the best, to be honest. Self-employed with good credit. I started self-employed. Money was hit and miss, because I was building a business. But I had the flexibility. I could drop everything, and that's why I was able to take deals before other people could get them. I can get them tied up, and then I'd worry about getting the money later if I had it or didn't have it. Now, again, number four, a positive spouse, right? That's ideal. No spouse just as good as a positive spouse. There's nothing worse than having somebody inside your home that's kind of shitting on your dreams, that's kind of getting in the way, that's not positive, right? So if you got somebody positive in the room, that's great. I'm not going to talk about if you got anybody negative right now, but I'm going to go to the next step, okay? So that's very easy if you have those conditions. Easy is all of these again, but again, if it's low pay, if you have low pay, then it's not as easy. It's not as easy, okay? Because you just don't have quite the credibility. You probably don't have quite the bank account that somebody, that has a very good job. But I would take probably low pay, and these, if I had to choose between a good paying job with no flexibility over a lower paying job, but having great flexibility and being self-employed and maybe not making as much as somebody that's more successful, and and a positive spouse, I would take those three with low pay any day over up here having great pay and a negative spouse, somebody that really doesn't support you. That's like the worst thing in the world. And I unfortunately run into that. When guys says, listen, when I used to say, I never even say it. I just can't even say it. But some people say, well, I got to check with the wife. And if I say, it's a lie, because I don't. I never have. I'd pull up to a property and my wife would say, why are you stopping here? And I go, oh, we own this. You go, oh, you know what I mean? But that's a positive spouse, right? Even if they're kind of disinterested, that's positive. I'll take disinterested any day over inquisitive and negative. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you just want to leave it. You just don't need it. You don't need it. I don't need it. So think about where you're at right now, and you guys can ask some questions there. My son actually might read them out to me, but identify yourself within this. Employed, good job, no flexibility. Employed with flexibility. Self-employed, good credit. You're golden. Okay, and by the way, I have a webinar tonight. At 7 p.m. Central, okay? So you should get into that. If you fit into any of these categories, I'm not, but now let's go to tough. Okay, tougher. I'm not going to say it's easy anymore, right? There's a lot of people out there, fake gurus, that everybody, it doesn't matter if you don't have any money, go borrow the money to get in the course, and you're somebody with no job. Listen, if you got no job, you can't even get in the mentorship anyways. Unless you've got, a couple $100,000 in the bank, then I'd say, okay, sure, you can get in. But again, only if you're smart. But the bottom line is low pay is less of a hindrance than no flexibility, okay? Low pay is less of a hindrance to wealth than a negative spouse, okay? So now let's go over here and let's just kind of talk about, however you fit into that, let's talk about how you get there. So if you haven't bought real estate and you don't have a reputation of knowing what you're doing, listen, office, retail, warehouse, and I say that, it's a little bit tough for me to say that, but I'm trying to be honest with you. I got my first property I ever bought was a retail warehouse, and I was 19. Different set of rules for me on that one because, I was looking for a place to rent. I was looking for a warehouse to rent. I was self-employed. It made sense. It made sense in my situation. And I didn't get scrutinized. They didn't even know they were selling to a 19-year-old. They just knew some guy wanted and was buying it. But let's go back to what's the highest probabilities are, okay? Highest probabilities for anybody watching this is you're going to make money on land, okay? And I have people in my class that have made cash, $800,000, $1 million. I got students in my class that fit that self-employed and flexible or have a great job with flexibility that have already made multi-millions, right? So understand that. A little bit established, but you know what I mean? That's what happens when you got a good job. You get a little more established. But let's just talk about what's open for everybody, the highest probabilities. Land. Land is actually also good for these guys here. Tough, easy, and very easy, right? Low pay, no pay, low pay, no pay, and good pay. Land is really, really good. And the reason I put an asterisk next to land is because right here. Land has the highest probability of being OC. That's owner carry, right? That's a note for me. Owner carry. No credit needed, right? They can extend credit to you. I actually got that offered to me with my first building, but that's not the norm with buildings. It's just not the norm. So keep in mind land, and here's the thing, land, you're all over the place. I was buying lots in the 80s for $10,000 and selling them for $20,000 and $30,000. So I was making $10,000 and $20,000. I was tripling my money if I paid cash. And many times I only put $2,000 or $3,000 down. So I'd buy a lot for $10,000 with $2,000 down. I'd owe $8,000, and I'd resell it for like $20,000 or $30,000, and I'd get $10,000 down. And sometimes they would assume the first that I had, that I'd already created. So somebody could give me $12,000 and take over the first, and I just made $10,000 on my $2,000. That's the kind of stuff. That's how I started. And that's what gives so much hope for the no pay, no job person, for the person that has low pay, and for all categories, right? But it allows it to be easier for those people that have less opportunities financially. So land gives you that, number one. Now, houses too, okay? Now, I did a green asterisk because not as easy to get owner carry. Okay, I've got owner carried houses. I've even sold houses owner carried. There's not as many of them, right? There's just not as many of them out there. But way more land to be owner carried. Houses, they're out there. If you fall into the easy category where you got a good job, obviously you're going to qualify. You can buy a house by yourself. Depending on the range of homes and the sizes you go into. If you're low pay, there's some houses you can buy, there's some you can't. Obviously, you can't jump into stuff that's out of your financial range. You're just not going to qualify for as much as somebody with ease pay. So, but let's talk about this. And also, I'm kind of getting to you to where you get to the first million. You can make $1 million on the land. That's easy. I'm just telling you. You make $10,000 on a lot or $50,000 on a lot. I was talking back in the 80s. If the best opportunities that are under $100,000 with land, you can double and triple your money on land. I mean, like regularly. You can kind of count on it, actually. You can really count on it. Not so much with maybe all the other categories, but tripling your money is not unusual with land. And obviously, in my class, like I say, I've had people with $150,000, even zero. I did have a zero. I had a guy that bought a property, $140,000, and he actually got zero down, zero interest, fully financed. And they just had to pay $1,000 a month. He made $800,000 that day. That's what his equity is. He hasn't quite realized it yet, but it's definitely there. But he's also somebody in my class that made $800,000 on a trailer park with $80,000. So he took $80,000 and made $800,000. Totally doable. But let's get back to just like I say, I like to be fair with the numbers and with the chances of it happening to you. So I want to stay within the probability factors where they're the strongest. And that is with land and then with houses. Now, why? There's more houses than anything. There's more houses. I mean, there's land that's out of your reach. It's too far away. But I'm saying land, houses, that's what you're surrounded by, right? You're surrounded by. When you're driving down the freeway, when you look over left and right, you see a car. Guess what? That car is heading to a driveway and a garage, with little exception. I'm sure it's going to go to some apartments and different things, but it's likely going to a house. You know what I mean? 9 out of 10 of them are heading to a house. So houses, again, I'm talking about high probabilities. I'm not trying to blow smoke. I'm trying to give you a realistic assessment of where you're at and what you can do. Houses, same thing though. You won't make as high a percentage in generally on a house as land. Land, like I say, you can make 10 times what you paid for, but you can regularly make triple. Houses, you can easily make 35%. In other words, the last 4 houses I bought in the last, 8, 9 months, I paid about $300,000 a piece on average. I paid $225 for one. The one I paid $225 is worth $550. The other ones that I paid $300, $320, I think I got $290 in there. All of those are worth about $450,000, right? So in other words, I made half again. Whatever I paid $300. It's worth $450. And now I could sell it right away, but houses are a little bit tricky. The good thing about houses are they finance. So you don't, in other words, they finance by a bank. So you get a good deal. On the houses in general, you're going to have to pay for them. You're going to have to borrow money to pay for them, or you're going to have to get a partner to pay for them if you don't have money. But that's all doable. That's how I started. I got houses I got under contract that I couldn't afford to buy by myself. I had a partner with a good job. He put up the money and credit to close it. Then we sell it, and then I take half that money. So houses are a very high probability. So houses and land is your best bet to get to $1 million. And I'm talking, this can happen in a year or two. Okay, it really can. But let's just say 2 or 3 years, just on average. That's you do the things that you're supposed to do. That's definitely doable. Now, so the TC, what that means, it means takes credit, right? Houses generally take credit. Land, not so much. It doesn't really take credit. Land, the owners will carry. Happens all the time. Houses take credit. Warehouse, industrial, retail. Now, you can still make 35, 40%. I bought a building recently for $2.8 million. It was worth 4.2 the day I bought it. I'll just say 4. So I made $1.2 million the day I bought it. It was poorly managed. I raised the rents, and now it's worth probably 4.7, something like that. And the property that I bought, that I rolled into that, I paid I paid $240,000, sold it for $1.7 million, took the $1.7 million, put it down and buying a bigger warehouse, right? Now, warehouse, retail, and office, I love them all equally. In all honesty, I do have a bit of affection for warehouse and retail, because warehouse and retail, you just have to deliver a white box. Like you see this white board here, that's what you deliver. You're delivering rooms that are empty, that are clean and white. That's all you got to do. Floor, concrete, doesn't matter. Yeah, a suspended ceiling with some, LED lights or that sort of thing. We don't even use fluorescence anymore. I almost said fluorescent. So warehouse, industrial, retail. Now, again, takes credit, okay? Now, the other problem, and you see I got an S here, right? The S is for it takes a degree of sophistication to buy warehouse, retail, and office. In general, the people you're going to be talking to are going to want to, you got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're talking about. And I help close that gap, by the way. If you're in my mentorship, that's something that's kind of easy for me to help close the gap on as well. But this is ultimately where you want to get, because the land, like I say, just say with today, you make whatever. Say I was making 10 and 20 back in the 80s, so I think it's fair to say you can make 40, 50, 60,000 on a lot. So you go 50, you take your 50, now you turn that into, buying another one. Now you got maybe, say you got 300K. Okay? Now that you made 300K, now wherever you're at on the totem pole, easiest and zero, or job, no job, and good job, low paying job, and no job. Anywhere on there, if you get into 300K, now you can get into houses, because now you can pay cash. You can pay cash for a house with $300,000. Now, when you pay cash for a house, the rule is you got to know value. Number one thing, you have to know value. There's no getting around that. You have to know value. And if you know value, then you have the ability. So, we got any questions under there? I see some in the chat, I thought. But, all right. Anyhow, back to retail and office. These I like to hold, okay? These I like to hold. And if anybody wants an example of any of this, when I sit back at the desk, I'll show you. I can show you houses that I bought. I can show you warehouses. I can show you all kinds of different stuff. So feel free to ask away on that. But so, like I say, houses and land, that's where you start. Easiest way to make, you can start with as little as $10,000 with land. Houses, that's a little tougher. There's places where houses are, $50,000. But the problem is really you want to be in a place where the houses are at a minimum, like the average value of a home. You want it to be a minimum of $150,000. The problem is when you get into houses that are, less than $100,000, if they need much work, they're probably going to just take all the life out of the deal anyways. So 150 up. I personally, just because I have them convenient around me, I buy houses that are worth $450,000 for $300,000. You could buy houses for whatever, $200,000 or $300,000 area. That's what they sell for. You should be able to buy. You should be able to buy something for $200,000 and make $100,000. It happens all the time. And that extends to condos too. I got one of my guys. That's kind of what he specializes. He's buying and flipping condos. He's already made probably, I don't know, 250, 300,000, and he's only in 2 years. But two of those $100,000 profits came on condos, another 13 and another 100. He's done 5 deals. Having trouble keeping up with him now, but he's made about $500,000. Look him up. That's Shane. Shane. If you look at the testimonials, if you go to flipanythingusa.com, check that out. But this is the thing. Once you have 300K, then you can play the game that you played with the land. Now you can play it with the houses. A little tricky on the houses sometimes because you want to defer your gains. So what becomes a little bit difficult is selling and then being able to roll all the money that you made in, or buy something bigger than what you just sold for, because you're kind of playing with the same price stuff. So, you buy a house for 300, sell it for 400. Now you got a great deal on another one for 300. You can only burn 300 of that 400 that you have. I'm going to the 1031 stuff here. So you might have to sell one, and maybe you can buy 2. But in general, sometimes you just kind of, if the market supports it, I like to flip quickly. Sometimes I just say in the beginning, just take your bruises. You're going to pay twice as much tax if you sell a property, inside of a year. Where if you can wait a year, you'll pay half as much. You'll weigh that out. It's a good problem to have. Sometimes you just eat it, and other times, you say, you know what, the market's looking good. I'll hang on to it. Things are appreciating, but you watch it like a hawk. But as long as things are kind of appreciating, then you can afford to hold a year. So what you do is you jump over, you hold it for a year, and then you sell. Same thing. And then, hopefully you can still buy a second one, whatever, But then instead of this 300, in the same time that you made, or the same amount of deals that you made 300 with these 4 houses, now you'll make maybe make 800 or maybe 700. Okay, let's just say 700. Okay, so now you're already at your million, right? You made 300,000 on these, on your pieces of land, and this could be 10 pieces of land, it could be 3 pieces of land, it could be 1 piece of land. This could be 10 houses, it could be 4 houses, and still make 700 grand. I don't know the exact numbers you're playing with, the properties and size you have, but once you get to this level, and now you have made 300,000 on your houses, and you got 700K here, and let's just say this is 700,000. Let's just say this 700,000 is still locked up and tied into these houses, or maybe it's tied into a couple houses. Now, you've got some options. You can get a revolving line of credit, and you can pull money in and out off those houses if you want. I tend to say just dump them, just sell them. But don't sell them unless you can roll them into a good retail building or a good industrial building or a good office. I love office. A lot of people push the panic about office because ever since COVID, a lot of people went back home to work. Listen, while COVID was going on, and I got maybe, 70, 80,000 square feet of offices. My offices, they were full. They stayed full. My retail was full, and it stayed full. Some people got hurt. I had to help them a little bit on rent, give them a break. That was fine. They stayed, though. Everybody got hurt a little bit. You treat your tenants like customers. You'll have them forever. You are in it together, right? You're in it together. You want them to survive in their business because you want your rent. So you take a hit, they're taking a hit, you can work with them. Now, the next thing is you roll this money, your first million, then you can start to roll. You put $500,000 down on $1 million office, retail, warehouse, and if you bought it right, you're gonna 500,000 down. You buy something for $1 million. You bought a $500,000 under market. Now you're making $500,000 the day you buy the property. And I've made much more than that. I bought single buildings that were worth $2 million more than I paid with them. And the money that I bought the building with came from something that I made, $1 million on a piece of land or something like that. In fact, Rich in my class has also done fantastically well. Congrats, Rich. Rich actually got a big, beautiful shopping center tied up today in his name. He's got it signed. He's got the deal signed. I even told him he got to sign it to me, and I'd buy him out. If he wants out, I could buy him out of it. It looks good enough that it fits my criteria, something I'd like to do. And when you have more money, you can afford to pay a little bit more, and you can let your margins be a little tighter. It's just you have more. The more money you have, the less you can live on. I always said I always wanted to have enough money that I could retire very comfortably on 4%. And And this is back when things paid 10%. I figured if I could have enough money that I could just live on 4% interest, that would be very wealthy, right? I mean, $10 million, you'd have whatever, you'd have what, 400,000 coming in. It just depends on where you're at, but the options open with the more money you have. I'm going to go back to my chair. Okay, whiteboard, go away. Where's the whiteboard? All right, I'm back. So look, hey, I've got a webinar tonight, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Urge you to get in here. Listen, don't just sit on the couch. Don't miss out. Don't miss out. You'll learn so much so quick. But let's talk about some of that stuff. I'm just going to show you, just to retrace some of the steps of how I made my first million, and because it's exactly kind of how I explained it to you. Now, this, I tell you, I don't want to count this, but my first property I bought, it was a commercial industrial building, 19 years old, owner financed. Also hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you just got here. But aside from that, it didn't matter. I started flipping lots over here. This little area here, I went through about 70 lots actually. I ran out of money. I bought about 20 of them, and then I started building homes. I was in a position. I made enough money. I was young. I was 20-something, but I had great credit, and I had money in the bank because I'd made so much money on for like 5 properties, right? In other words, I bought, I don't know, 70 properties there. I was buying them because I intended to build. I built 3 houses in this neighborhood that you see behind me, and then one month, somebody was interested in some of my lots. I sold 3 lots, and I made 60 grand on those 3 lots. Well, 60 grand on 3 lots for an hour's work compared to me building, getting a construction loan, getting an architect, getting the damn thing passed, building the place, and I said, I ain't building ever again. And I started buying more lots and just started, flipping lots. And, I made millions of dollars on land where before it would have taken me a lot longer to do it with houses. So those of you watching, how do you fall? Do you fall into any of these categories? What I was talking about earlier? Where are you at? Anybody got any questions? I mean, everybody wants to make money, right? I mean, are you working? Are you, do you have the flexibility of a flexible job? Or are you self-employed? Like I say, I would take low pay and flexibility if I had to start over a great job and no flexibility. Because now you're imprisoned by your job. If you've got the flexibility where you can get around, and you can get out, and you can move and look, and a lot of people do now, right? So many people get to work at home. Yeah, I don't screw with tax liens. It's not my thing. Again, that's something I believe that just gets overhyped. Most things get, on YouTube, everybody makes things like, oh, there's such a great opportunity with warehouses, such an opportunity in apartments, and they're selling it to people that can't even, they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance, and it's, or they say, oh, go get an LLC and then go get a credit card in the name of your LLC. That's blowing smoke up your butt. That ain't going to help you. That's not going to do anything for you at all. LLCs come in handy when, if you're part of a multi-partner thing, because some assets are like a cancer. You want to be able to separate yourself from it, because they can spread. In other words, if you have everything in your name and something goes south on one of your properties, it'll attach everything you own. It's like it's in the bloodstream. But if you have multiple LLCs, then if something goes wrong, it's like, hey, I'm out of that. You're a limited partner in it. Even if you're a general partner, there's a way to compartmentalize where it doesn't affect the other assets. But anyways, I just wanted you guys to see that, and there's so many people out there that are this close to doing really, really well. They just don't know. They just need a little bit of guidance. And Dimitri wrote, averaging around 40, do right around 1 deal per week. Wow. Shit, 40 grand a week. You're doing great, buddy. To make $2 million this year, I work 14 hours a day. Any advice on doing bigger flips, like 200K on average? Yeah, well, you just do the same thing you're doing. Just do bigger land. I mean, listen, it's all relative, right? It's all relative. With land especially, I mean, you can make $1 million. You can make $1 million with 10 grand if you buy the right piece of land and the right circumstances that happen. But making 10 times your money on land is really not that hard. It's the most common thing I've seen. I tell the story about a guy that bought a piece of land for $160,000. It was a farmer died, 160 acres. The kids came out, looked at it, and met him with the realtor. He hired a terrible realtor. In fact, look at the video I got. It's called $5 Million. And basically, the people were disinterested. They just knew, we're going to get some free money. Dad died. And they foolishly got an agent that didn't know what she was doing. The property was sold to a guy that knew exactly what he was doing. He bought it, and that $160,000 turned into $5.2 million. He sold half of it for $2.5 million right after it closed. Then he sold the other half of it for $3 million, and never saw him again. I'm sure he's lived happily ever after since. Would take only 10 per year to make $2 million at 200K per deal. You solve complicated title problems. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Every deal can be different. I actually made a fantastic deal. I can't even tell you how I did it. I share it with my class, but I can't share it on YouTube. Otherwise, I'd have people upset with me in class. Let's see, AJN wrote, I bought 10 houses back in 2009 and 12, all paid for, now sitting on 900K, only paid between 8,000 and 10,000. Now they are 10x. Okay, yeah, that's great. Back in 2000, listen, there's opportunities everywhere, and this is what I try to tell people. You look behind me. I mean, look what's behind me. Look at all this land. You can zoom in. That's actually farming area. But look down here. Look at the concentration of houses. That's what I'm talking about. Houses are everywhere. There is a never-ending inventory, and so each has its advantage. Land has its advantage. Come out here, and I've made millions of dollars on dirt out here, in this particular area. Actually, I made this back in 1989. I bought 70 acres here, and for 140 grand, sold it for $520,000. Made $350,000 after all the smoke cleared and the commissions cleared. I've got a property sitting here that's an overpass. See that overpass? That's like It's about the same time, around 1989, actually. I bought the property, knew an overpass was coming that way, and I got the property. And then when they came to do the eminent domain and take it away, I fought, and I ultimately I paid $60. I sold it for $290. I think is how it came out. That was a lot of money back in the 80s. Dimitri wrote, I saw that $5 million video, loved it. Where are we at? I track down heirs who don't know that they even are heirs and offer a few thousand net at closing for lots worth 50 to 100K, then handle probate, old liens, etc. Yeah. I mean, if you're bringing attention to somebody that doesn't know that they even have it, I mean, that's an angle you can play. Don H. wrote, I bought your book. Do you use and or assign to lots just like you do? Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the best things about land is, and where you don't have to worry about assigning it, because if you can put the terms together, if you have something owner carried, if it's owner carried, you've already solved the financing problem for somebody else. Now, not exactly. Don't get me wrong. In other words, most land deals I've ever bought, like I say, I'm going to get 10 times what I paid for them, or at least 3 times, right? I paid 10 grand, I'm going to get 30. Pay 100 grand, I'm going to get 300. It's all been relative that way for me. And like I told you, that earliest deal I showed you a little while ago, I paid 140. Sold it for 520. Even guys that have done a lot of deals, they don't know. They're afraid. They're afraid of buildings. They're afraid of apartments. And there's things you need to know. And that's why, people get in my mentorship. is to learn about those things. Guys that want to move from land to retail properties. And I mean, somebody like you, Dimitri, you're already kind of killing it with your land business. You would be a good candidate for getting in the mentorship to learn how to parlay that into better assets. But I'm going to show you something. So if you get a chance, go to Flip Anything USA, and you can just go up here to apply for mentorship. And by the way, tonight, that banner is tonight. So try to get in there. Just go to the links below, and you can get in. And urge you to do that. But right up here, just click on Apply for Mentorship. That'll take you to this page. Just fill that out. For the webinar tonight, just go right here to webinar. And again, a little tiny form. You can put your phone number in there. If it's too last minute, we'll text you the link to get in. It'll be a Zoom link. But you should do this. Listen, it's only an hour away, hour and 10 minutes away. It could be a life changer, and I mean that sincerely. And if you don't think so, then go to the success page and just take a look at most of these guys are new millionaires. They're new real estate millionaires. I got a mechanic. I got Shane here, who I mentioned. I got Jerry. He fits that category of a self-employed guy that's got some freedom, but man, he works hard. He's a storm chaser. Oh, I see. Okay, you're in Belgium. Okay, that's all right. Anyways, but either way, you can apply it anywhere. But you're still welcome to come into the class, buddy. Land millionaire, land and house millionaire now, or damn near, pretty close. I haven't talked to him lately. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Again, carpenter like myself here, millionaire now. It all happens quick. This gentleman here, over $4 million he's made. He's got $5 million in real estate, $1 million in debt, and none of that million of debt, none of his equity is cash tied up. That's all profit. Again, here's a super success story right here. Zero down, zero interest. He got about $1 million property for $140,000. He also bought a trailer park for $80,000, sold it for $880,000, and those are the things that can happen. But anyways, like your content, it's authentic. Thanks, Dimitri. Yeah, there's so much. I was on a live with Evan Carmichael, right? Evan Carmichael, if you don't know who he is, he's a kind of a YouTube guider. I've reached out to him for some guidance. Everybody needs a mentor, right? If there's something you don't know, I've been in jiu-jitsu for 10 years. I got a mentor, right? I got a jiu-jitsu mentor, and Evan Carmichael is somebody I've gone to for just getting advice on how to market and how to grab the attention and that sort of thing. And I'm still learning, so don't hold them accountable for this show. But apartments, all this stuff. But in give you an example, because I was talking about the ratio of how there's so many more houses available than anything else. There's 24 houses I bought in one subdivision. Okay, one subdivision, 24 houses, and I bought them all individually, right? And there's other houses scattered around here, but industrial. Look, I bought industrial land. I paid $2.5 million for that lot. You want to play with bigger numbers, you can play with bigger stuff. That's a building I bought. I bought that from the people that own the company that's inside. The company's still in there. Going on 5 years, they've been renting from me. I get a very healthy check. In fact, there's 3 houses I paid $400,000 for that I rolled into the purchase of that property for 1.6, and now that property I get a net $12,000 a month. A net 12. Think about it, $144,000 a year, one property, and it started with buying 3 houses that were $129,000 a piece. Grant is in here. I've been following your book, sending out mailers after the second round. Mailers, yeah. Get in the mentorship, and I'll give you more answers on that. I'll give you stuff that I can't just share here on YouTube without feeling like I'm cheating my mentees. But Grant, you should get in the class if you can afford it. But do jump into the webinar tonight. And those of you, there's the book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. If you don't have that book, you 100% should own it. No doubt about it. And let's see. Other than that, let's get my sign back up for tonight's deal. But that's tonight. You want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate? I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Go to the link below, flipanythingusa.com/webinar. Sign up for it. You can talk to me face-to-face if you want. Don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've been doing it for years. Anyway, so tonight, get in the webinar. You don't want to miss it. It's only about an hour away, so you better move fast to sign up for it. Like I say, put your number in there, and we'll text you the link as well. Anybody got any other questions? You gotten a few calls? Well, that's good, Grant. Yeah, Grant, there's some other little nuances you should know about that aren't in the book, and I can share some of that with you. But you just sign up for the mentorship, and we'll have a call, and I'll help you. I actually had a student went to get in the class, and she actually had a chunk of money, about $40,000. We get to talking, and I told her, I said, she had a deal online. I said, look, you need to pursue that. And so she did. And she got back, and I looked at her. I said, man, you know what? Forget the class. Buy that piece of property, and then from the cash flow from that, you can jump in the class. She already bought 2 duplexes, and now she was getting like a 6-unit deal. She called me out of Chicago. What was her name? Jessica? I can't remember now, but I'll look her up. I'm sure she'll be on eventually, but. Anyways, yeah, there's nothing like real estate to make you rich. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please let me know. It always helps if you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment under the video. That's always helpful. Talk soon. Hey, Tom here. Look, wholesalers, flippers, investors, listen, you want to get good guidance. You want to build a portfolio. This is what it really looks like to be a successful real estate investor. Been doing it for 4.5 decades, have hundreds of thousands of square feet of rentals, have students that have become millionaires in as little as 2 years. Go to flipanythingusa.com. I'll show you how to do it.